We are making contemporana pizza, 70% hydration. To make this pizza, we need 1 kilogram of high protein flour, 450 grams of room temperature water for the very first stage, and surprisingly only 1 gram of yeast. I actually didn't believe that 1 gram of yeast would work until my first pizza came out amazing. Add the yeast to the water, mix it well, and let it sit for about 10 minutes. And then add the flour and mix it well with the yeast water. You can actually close the container and shake it until all of the flour is absorbed the yeast water. After that, use your hands to break up any dry flour lumps and make sure everything is mixed evenly. Cover the container and let the dough rest in the fridge for 24 hours. After 24 hours, this is what we get. A firm dough with a light alcohol-like smell. That's a good sign of the dough has gone through a long and cold fermentation. Transfer the dough to a stand mixer. If you have a larger stand mixer, you can mix all the dough at once. But if your mixer is small like mine, it's better to divide the dough into 2 batches and mix them separately. Otherwise, it might be too much for the machine and it could be overheated. That's what I was worried might happen to my mixer. And then add 20 grams of salt. Never add salt at the early stage because the salt will kill the yeast. Now we need another 250 grams of ice water, bringing the total to 700 grams of water. Slowly add the water to the dough while mixing on level 2 for about 2 minutes, allowing the dough to absorb the water slowly. If you start at the higher speed, the water will splash everywhere. Once most of the water has been absorbed, increase the mixer to level 4 and continue mixing for another 10 to 12 minutes. Transfer the dough to a container. Now you can do a window pane test. Gently stretch a small piece of dough until it becomes thin and almost transparent, like a window pane without breaking. If you can do that, your dough has passed the window pane test. Cover the container and let the dough rest in the fridge for another 24 hours. This is my dough after 24 hours in the fridge. I took it out and let it sit at the room temperature for 3 hours, just to show you what it looks like. I will also show you the dough straight from the fridge without letting it warm up very soon in this video, so you can see the difference. Since the dough has been sitting at the room temperature for 3 hours, it has risen and become much softer. Now divide the dough into 6 equal balls. Each one should weigh about 270 to 280 grams, which is the great size for a large pizza. Keep them in the round container or small bowls and let it sit for another few hours before using. I kept mine for 24 hours, which is exactly 3 days before making the pizza. Now this is the dough after 24 hours in the fridge without letting it warm up first. You can see it's not as bouncy, it hasn't risen as much, and it's a lot firmer. I actually like working with this one more than the other because it's firmer, it's easier to shape, and a lot less stickier. Honestly, I can't tell much difference between this one and the one I left out for 3 hours to warm up. To me, they both gave the same amazing result. This is the dough ball that I took out of the fridge about 2 hours before making the pizza. You definitely need to let it rest at the room temperature before making the pizza so the gluten can relax. Otherwise, the dough will be too difficult to stretch and shape because gluten is still very tight. First, make a small circle in the middle of the dough, then slowly make it bigger. Use your finger to gently push the dough from the center toward the edge. It's like building a wall, but don't press down on the edge or flatten it because we want the crust to puff during the baking. Then flip the dough and repeat the same process on the other side. Then lift it up and use your knuckles to gently stretch the dough while rotating it in the circle. Focus on stretching the middle and moving closer to the edge, but avoid touching the edge so you can keep the air inside the crust. After reading so many instructions on how to make a pizza, I decided to give this method a try by baking the base first for 3 minutes. This way, the base becomes firmer and whatever toppings you add on afterwards won't make the middle of the pizza soggy. Continue baking for another 5 minutes. The baking time really depends on your oven temperature. For my oven, I preheated it at the maximum temperature for 20 minutes using the grill function. As soon as I placed the pizza inside, I switched it to fan grill because I wanted that intense heat during the final 5 minutes of baking. Obviously, I'm not a professional pizza maker, but learning how to make a good one at home.